There is a reason you stopped here. Not later. Not earlier. Right now. Out of all the distractions, all the scrolling, all the noise fighting for your attention, something pulled you into this exact moment. And if you're honest, it didn't feel random. It felt intentional. Almost like something inside you paused the world for a second and whispered, "Wait, this is for you." That feeling, that subtle pull in your chest, that quiet curiosity mixed with urgency, that is not coincidence. That is alignment. Because you were just searching, you were being guided. You may have come here tired, not just physically but spiritually drained, carrying questions you couldn't even fully explain, feeling like you've been praying but hearing nothing back, asking for sign but seeing only silence, wondering if anyone, anything, was really listening. And yet here you are. Let me ask you something, and I want you to feel this, not just hear it. Have you ever prayed so deeply that your words disappeared and all that was left was emotion? Have you ever sat in silence, hoping heaven would just notice your pain? Have you ever whispered, "God, please just give me something, anything, a sign that I am not alone"? Because if you have, then this moment is not accidental. This is your answer beginning to take form. There are moments when heaven doesn't respond immediately, not because it didn't hear you, but because it was preparing something greater than what you asked for. And when that response finally arrives, it doesn't come as noise, it comes as a divine interruption. That's what this is. An interruption to your doubt. An interruption to your confusion. An interruption to the quiet lie that told you your prayers were ignored. Because they weren't. They were recorded. They were carried. They were answered in the unseen before they ever reached your reality. And now something has shifted. You may not fully understand it yet, but you can feel it. There's been a tension in your spirit lately. A strange awareness. Like something is about to change, but you can't explain how or when. Like you're standing on the edge of something, but you don't know if it's a breakthrough or a breakdown. Let me tell you the truth, it's neither. It's a transition. And transitions don't feel comfortable. They don't feel clear. They feel like pressure, like confusion. Like everything familiar is slowly losing its grip on you while everything new hasn't fully revealed itself yet. That's where you are. Right in the middle. And that is exactly where divine messages find you. Because when you are no longer who you used to be but not yet who you are becoming, heaven speaks louder than ever. That's why this message found you now. Not when you were distracted. Not when you were comfortable. But when you were ready, even if you didn't realize it. Archangel Michael does not step forward without purpose. His presence signals movement. His voice signals action. And when a message carries his authority, it means something has already begun shifting in your favor, even if your physical eyes haven't seen it yet. This is the moment where everything starts to make sense, but only if you stay present. Because what you're about to hear next will confirm things you've been feeling but couldn't explain. It will answer questions you've been carrying in silence. And it will reveal why your prayers were never ignored. They were heard. And now the response has begun. Stay with this. Don't rush past it. Don't let distractions steal this moment. Because this is not just a message. This is your confirmation. Type "I am ready" in the comments if you feel this message is for you. Blessing code 111 is now activated. There are prayers you spoke out loud, and then there are the ones that never made it past your lips. The ones that lived in your chest, heavy and unformed, carried not by words but by emotion. And you need to hear this now with absolute clarity. Those were the prayers heaven heard the loudest. Not the perfect sentences, not the rarest lines, not the moments where you tried to sound strong or faithful, but the breaking points, the quiet tears, the nights when your voice trembled and all you could say was, "Help me." Those moments did not go unnoticed. They did not fade into silence. They arose. You have to understand something deeper than what you've been told before. Heaven does not measure your prayers by how polished they sound. It measures them by the weight they carry. And your prayers have carried weight. The kind of weight that shifts atmospheres. The kind of weight that reaches beyond time, beyond doubt, beyond delay. Even when you thought nothing was happening, something was already moving. Even when it felt like your words were falling into emptiness, they were actually being gathered, recorded, and responded to in ways you could not yet see. Think back for a moment. There were times when you questioned yourself, when you wondered if you were doing something wrong, if you were missing something, if maybe you weren't worthy of an answer. You started to overthink your own faith. You started to wonder if heaven had gone quiet on you. But what if the silence you felt was not absence? What if it was preparation? What if every unanswered moment was actually a buildup, a layering of something greater than an immediate response? Because here is the truth you were never meant to forget. Delay does not mean denial, and silence does not mean distance. There are answers that cannot arrive too early because you would not recognize their value. There are breakthroughs that cannot come prematurely because you would not be ready to sustain them. And there are responses that must be formed in the unseen realm first, shaped with precision, aligned with timing, and protected from interference before they are ever released into your life. That is what has been happening around you. While you were waiting, heaven was working. While you were doubting, heaven was deciding. While you were questioning, heaven was confirming. Your prayers created movement. They opened doors in realms you cannot physically touch. They called attention to your situation in ways you cannot physically measure. And most importantly, they activated divine response. You were never ignored. You were never overlooked. You were never forgotten. You were being heard at a level deeper than what your current understanding could grasp. And this is where something begins to shift inside you, because now you start to realize that the feeling you've had lately, that strange awareness, that sense that something is about to happen, is not random. It is the echo of your own prayers returning to you. It is the response forming. It is the answer approaching. You see, there is a moment in every spiritual journey where what you have been asking for begins to move toward you. And before it arrives, your spirit feels it. You become more sensitive, more aware, more alert to things you used to ignore. You begin to notice patterns, shifts, subtle changes in energy and interaction. That is not your imagination. That is alignment. That is the moment where what was once distant begins to draw near. This is why you have felt different lately. This is why certain things no longer sit right with you. This is why your patience has been tested and your awareness heightened at the same time. Because your spirit knows something your mind is just beginning to understand. Your prayers have already been heard, and the response is no longer far away. But there is something important you must hold on to right now. Just because the answer is coming does not mean you return to doubt. Just because the response is forming does not mean you fall back into old patterns of questioning your worth or your faith. This is the moment where you remain steady, where you stay grounded, where you trust what you cannot yet see because you are beginning to feel it. And right now, as you listen to this, something within you is confirming it. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, deeply, undeniably. A knowing, a calm certainty, a shift that says, yes, something is happening. That is your confirmation. Your prayers were not lost. They were lifted. They were carried. They were answered. and now they are returning to you in a way that will make everything you endured finally make sense. Type "I am heard" in the comments if you receive this truth. Blessing code 222 is now activated. Now listen carefully, because this is where everything shifts from waiting to movement. This is where what was unseen begins to step into form. Because when Archangel Michael steps forward, it is never symbolic. It is never passive. It is action. It is intervention. It is the unmistakable sign that heaven is no longer observing your situation from a distance. It is actively entering it. You have to understand who is speaking over your life in this moment. Archangel Michael is not a messenger of uncertainty. He is a commander, a protector, a force of divine authority assigned to moments where clarity must replace confusion and where truth must cut through everything that tried to distort your path. And if his presence is being revealed to you now, it means one thing above all else. Your situation has reached a point where divine response can no longer remain hidden. Something has already begun. Even if your surroundings look the same, even if the people around you have not changed, even if the answers you've been waiting for have not fully appeared yet, movement has already started in the unseen. And the reason you are feeling this heightened awareness, this quiet intensity in your spirit, is because you are no longer disconnected from what is happening. You are being brought into alignment with it. Michael steps in when protection is required. He steps in when deception has gone on long enough. He steps in when something that belongs to you has been delayed, diverted, or challenged beyond its time. And right now, he is stepping in on your behalf. There are things that tried to stand in the way of your breakthrough. There were forces you could not name, situations you could not explain, patterns that seemed to repeat just as you were about to move forward. And you may have blamed yourself. You may have thought you weren't doing enough, or that you were somehow falling short. But the truth is, not everything you faced was yours to carry. Some of it required intervention beyond your strength. Some of it required a level of authority that only heaven could release. That is where Michael enters. His presence is not gentle in the way you expect comfort to be. It is precise. It is direct. It is powerful in a way that removes what should not remain and reveals what must be seen. And this is why things around you may begin to shift suddenly. Conversations may change. People may reveal sides of themselves you did not expect. Situations that once felt stable may begin to feel uncertain. This is not destruction without purpose. This is exposure. This is alignment correcting itself. Because when divine response begins, everything that is not aligned with it must either adjust or exit. And this is where you must remain steady. You must not react out of fear when things begin to move. You must not interpret every shift as loss. Some things are being removed because they were never meant to stay in the next phase of your life. Some connections are being shaken because they cannot go where you are being taken. And some doors are closing not as rejection, but as redirection. Michael's role is not just to protect you from what you see. It is to protect you from what you cannot see. From influences that appeared harmless but carried the potential to delay you. From environments that felt familiar but were quietly draining your clarity. From patterns that felt normal but were keeping you from stepping fully into what you asked for. And this is the moment where you begin to understand something deeply personal. Your prayers did not just bring comfort. They activated response. They called Michael forward. They signaled that you were ready, not just for answers but for change. Not just for relief but for realignment. And realignment is not always comfortable, but it is always necessary. Right now, you are standing at the point where what you asked for is beginning to meet you. And as it does, everything that cannot coexist with it is being addressed. That is why you feel this tension. That is why you feel both anticipation and uncertainty at the same time. Because you are witnessing the beginning of a shift that will not leave your life the same. Stay grounded in this moment. Do not rush to understand everything at once. Let it unfold. Let the clarity come step by step. Because this is only the beginning of what hath been set into motion. And as you move forward from here, remember this. You are not waiting anymore. The response has already begun. Type "I trust the shift" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 333 is now activated. As this revelation settles into your spirit, understand this. Every time a message like this reaches a heart that was on the verge of giving up, heaven celebrates a victory. There are souls right now, just like you, waiting for confirmation, waiting for light to break through their darkness, waiting for a voice that reminds them they have been heard. And in this very moment, I feel this invitation rise within. I am stepping forward to help carry this light to others. Scripture declares that when you sow into good ground, your harvest will overflow, and right now, this mission is fertile with purpose and divine impact. Your support through Super Thanks or PayPal is not just a gesture. It is a seed that becomes oil in someone else's lamp, guiding them out of confusion into clarity. The links are placed for you in the description and even within the QR code on your screen, not as convenience, but as a doorway for obedience. What you release today will return to you multiplied, because heaven honors those who move when called. Step into this moment, act with faith, and become part of the miracle that reaches the next soul. There is something you've been trying to put into words, but it never quite comes out clearly. A feeling that something is different. Not dramatically different on the outside, but deeply different within you. A shift you can't explain, a tension you can't ignore, a quiet awareness that something is changing even if nothing around you looks like it has. And you may have questioned it. You may have wondered if it was just your emotions, just stress, just overthinking. But listen closely. This is not confusion. This is transition. Because when heaven begins to respond, the first place you feel it is not in your circumstances, it is in your spirit. You've noticed it, haven't you? The way certain things that once felt normal no longer feel right. The way conversations drain you faster than they used to. The way your tolerance for confusion, for noise, for misalignment has decreased without you trying to force it. You're not becoming distant. You're becoming discerning. You're not losing interest. You're gaining clarity. And clarity often feels uncomfortable before it feels empowering. This is the shift. It doesn't arrive with announcements. It doesn't come with immediate understanding. It comes quietly, almost subtly, but with undeniable weight. It begins by separating you internally from what no longer belongs in your life before anything external changes. And that separation can feel like loneliness, like uncertainty, like something is being taken away before you understand what is being given. That is why this moment feels so intense. Because part of you is letting go while another part of you is preparing to receive. And that space in between, the space where you are no longer who you were but not yet fully who you are becoming, is where the discomfort lies. It is where doubt tries to creep in. It is where you begin to question if you are moving in the right direction. But what you must understand right now is this. Discomfort in transition is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is working. There have been layers in your life that you carried for so long that they began to feel like part of you. Patterns of thinking, emotional responses, attachments to certain people or outcomes. And now, without you forcing it, those layers are being loosened. They are no longer holding the same power over you. And instead of feeling relieved immediately, you feel unsettled. That is because you are being repositioned. You are being moved out of alignment with what no longer serves your next level. And that movement is not always smooth. It requires awareness. It requires patience. It requires you to trust that what is shifting internally will soon reflect externally. This is also why your sensitivity has increased. You are noticing things you used to overlook. Energy, tone, intention. You are picking up on it all more clearly now. This is not a burden. This is preparation. Because where you are going, you cannot afford to ignore what your spirit is trying to show you. You cannot afford to stay connected to what quietly drains you. You cannot afford to remain comfortable in environments that limit your clarity. So your awareness is sharpening. And with that awareness comes a responsibility to listen, to observe, to not dismiss what you feel just because it is inconvenient or unfamiliar. There is also a reason why things may feel slower right now, or even uncertain. It is not because progress has stopped. It is because alignment is being corrected. Think of it this way. Before something moves forward at the right speed, it must first be placed in the right position. And positioning takes precision. It takes adjustment. It takes moments where everything feels like it has paused, when in reality, it is being carefully realigned. That is where you are. You are not stuck. You are being aligned. And alignment is what makes everything that follows sustainable. Because what is coming next is not meant to be temporary. It is not meant to come and go. It is meant to stay, to build, to elevate you into a space where you are no longer questioning your direction, but walking in it with certainty. So do not rush this moment. Do not try to force clarity before it fully arrives. Do not go back to what felt familiar just because this space feels uncertain. Stay here. Stay present. Stay aware. Because the shift you are feeling is real. And it is leading you exactly where your prayers have been pointing all along. Type "I accept the shift" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 444 is now activated. There were moments when you felt like you were doing everything right and yet nothing was moving. Moments where you showed up, stayed patient, stayed hopeful, and still found yourself facing delays that made no sense. You questioned it. You tried to adjust, to improve, to understand what you might be missing. But no matter how much effort you put in, something always seemed to stand just out of reach, holding back what you knew was meant for you. And over time, that feeling begins to wear on you. Not loudly, not all at once, but quietly. It plants thoughts in your mind that ask, "Why isn't this working?" Or "What am I doing wrong?" And if you're not careful, those thoughts begin to reshape how you see yourself. You start to internalize the delay as failure. You start to believe the resistance is a reflection of your worth. But hear this clearly now. What was blocking you was not a reflection of your inadequacy. It was a matter of timing, alignment, and protection. Because not every delay is meant to stop you. Some delays are placed to shield you from stepping into something before it is ready to hold you. Some blocks exist not to deny you, but to redirect you. And some resistance is allowed because it exposes what cannot go with you into your next level. There were things forming around you that you could not yet see. Situations that appeared stable but carried hidden instability. Opportunities that looked promising, but lacked the foundation to sustain you. And connections that felt right in the moment, but would have drained you in the long run. If those doors had opened when you wanted them to, you might have stepped into something that would have cost you more than the delay ever did. So what felt like obstruction was actually protection. And now, something is changing. Because the same force that held things back is no longer in place. The same resistance that slowed your progress is beginning to lose its hold. Not because you forced it, not because you fought harder, but because the timing has shifted. The alignment has been corrected, and what was once out of reach is now being released. This is why you may begin to notice subtle changes first. Small openings. Conversations that start to move differently. Opportunities that feel more stable, more aligned, more certain. It may not come all at once, but it will come in a way that feels right, without the confusion, without the struggle, without the constant questioning that choose to follow you. Because when something is meant for you in alignment, it does not require you to chase it with uncertainty. It meets you with clarity. And that is the difference you are about to experience. But here is what you must understand in this moment. Just because the block is being removed does not mean you return to the mindset you had while it was there. You do not go back to doubting yourself. You do not go back to questioning your path every time something takes time. You carry the awareness you've gained through this process forward with you. Because the delay taught you something. It refined your patience. It strengthened your discernment. It made you more aware of what feels right and what doesn't. And that awareness is what will help you recognize the difference between what is truly aligned and what only appears to be. This is also why you may feel a sense of quiet readiness right now. Not excitement that overwhelms you, but a steady knowing that something is about to move. A calm expectation rather than anxious anticipation. That feeling is not random. It is the result of everything aligning at once. You are no longer pushing against resistance. You are moving with release. And when release begins, it does not need to be forced. It flows. So as things begin to open, allow them to. Do not overanalyze every step. Do not question every opportunity out of fear that it might disappear. Trust the process that has brought you this far. Trust that what is being placed in front of you now has passed through a level of alignment that what came before could not. Because this time, it is not just about movement. It is about the right movement. And what was once blocked is no longer standing in your way. Type I receive the release in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 555 is now activated. There is a part of your journey that you were never meant to fully witness. Not because you weren't strong enough to handle it, but because seeing it too early might have overwhelmed you. There were battles taking place that did not look like battles. There were moments where nothing seemed to be happening, when everything felt still, quiet, even stagnant. But behind that stillness, something intense was unfolding on your behalf. You were not standing still. You were being covered. Because not every struggle you faced was visible. Not every obstacle you encountered had a physical form. Some of what you were up against existed in the unseen, in the form of resistance you couldn't name, delays you couldn't explain, and pressure that seemed to come from nowhere. And while you were trying to make sense of it from where you stood, there was already a response being activated beyond what your eyes could perceive. This is what you need to understand now. You were never unprotected. Even in the moments where you felt exposed, even when you felt like things were slipping out of your control, there was a level of protection surrounding you that you could not measure at the time. Situations that could have gone further did not. Outcomes that could have turned against you were quietly redirected. Doors that could have led you into deeper confusion closed before you even realized what they carried. You may have seen those moments as disappointment, as missed opportunities, as things not working out the way you hoped. But now, looking back, you can begin to see a different perspective forming. Some of those outcomes were not losses, they were interventions. Because there were things that did not align with where you are being taken. And instead of allowing you to walk into them and experience the consequences, they were stopped before they could fully unfold. That is protection. And protection does not always feel comfortable in the moment. Sometimes it feels like delay. Sometimes it feels like rejection. Sometimes it feels like confusion. But over time, it reveals itself as precision. It reveals itself as something that was placed in your path to keep you from stepping into something that would have taken more from you than it ever gave. This is the battle you did not see. The quiet resistance that was met with a greater force. The subtle misalignments that were corrected before they could fully affect you. The moments where something shifted just enough to keep you on the path you were meant to stay on. And while you were navigating your own thoughts, your own emotions, your own questions, there was already movement happening to ensure that what was meant for you would not be lost in the process. This is why you are still here in this moment, with clarity beginning to return, with awareness increasing, with a sense that something is now opening in a way it did not before. Because what was happening behind the scenes has reached a point where it is no longer just protection. It is transition. The intensity of what you were shielded from is now giving way to the clarity of what is being revealed to you. And this is where your role begins to shift as well. You are no longer just being protected from what you cannot see. You are being prepared to recognize it. Your awareness is increasing for a reason. Your sensitivity to what feels right and what doesn't is sharpening for a purpose. Because as you move forward, you are not meant to walk blindly. You are meant to walk with discernment. You are meant to recognize when something aligns with you and when it doesn't. To sense when something carries clarity and when it carries confusion. To trust the quiet signals within you that guide you, even when there is no external explanation yet. This is not something you are learning from the outside. It is something that has been developing within you through everything you have experienced. And now, it is becoming active. The same way you were protected without fully seeing it before, you will now begin to notice how things align more clearly. You will see the difference between what flows and what forces itself. Between what feels steady and what feels uncertain. Between what supports your growth and what quietly disrupts it. That clarity is part of your protection moving forward. Because you are not stepping into the next phase unaware. You are stepping into it equipped. And everything that was happening behind the scenes was preparing you for exactly this moment. Type "I am protected" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 666 is now activated. There is a realization that has been slowly forming within you, and you may have tried to ignore it at first. You may have told yourself you were overthinking, that you were reading too much into small changes, small reactions, small moments that didn't quite sit right. But the truth is, what you've been sensing is not imagination. It is awareness. It is discernment rising to the surface after being quiet for far too long. Because not everyone around you is aligned with where you are going. This is not about judgment. This is not about labeling people as good or bad. This is about recognizing alignment. And alignment is not determined by how long someone has been in your life. It is not defined by shared history, familiarity, or even emotional connection. Alignment is about direction. It is about whether someone's presence supports your growth or quietly disrupts it. And lately, you have started to notice the difference. You have felt the shift in conversations. A subtle tension in spaces that once felt comfortable. The way certain interactions leave you feeling drained instead of strengthened. The way some people respond to your growth, not with support, but with distance, confusion, or even quiet resistance. These are not random experiences. They are signals. Because when you begin to change internally, it reveals everything externally. The version of you that existed before may have been able to remain connected to certain dynamics without question. But the version of you that is emerging now cannot ignore what does not feel right. Not because you are becoming distant, but because you are becoming clear. And clarity changes everything. It shows you where you have been overextending yourself, where you have been maintaining connections out of habit rather than alignment, where you have been giving your energy to people or environments that no longer reflect who you are becoming. This realization can feel uncomfortable, even painful at times, because it may involve people you care about, people you have shared time, trust, and experiences with. And recognizing that something is no longer aligned does not erase those memories. It does not make those connections meaningless. It simply means they may not be meant to continue in the same way moving forward. And this is where you must be honest with yourself. You cannot carry everyone into the next phase of your life. Not because you don't value them, but because not everyone is meant to go where you are going. Some people were part of your past for a reason. Some were there to teach you something, to support you in a certain season, to walk with you for a time. But seasons change. And when they do, so does alignment. Holding on to what no longer fits does not preserve it. It delays you. And this is why you have been feeling this internal pull, this quiet awareness that something needs to shift. It is not asking you to react suddenly or to cut people off without thought. It is asking you to observe, to recognize, to begin creating space where space is needed. Because space allows clarity to grow. It allows you to see people and situations for what they are, not what you hoped they would be. It allows you to reconnect with your own energy, your own direction, your own sense of balance without constant external influence shaping it. And as you create that space, something important begins to happen. You start to feel more grounded, more centered, less affected by what used to pull at you emotionally. You begin to respond instead of react. You begin to choose your interactions instead of feeling obligated to maintain them. That is growth. That is alignment strengthening within you. And with that strength comes a new level of peace, not the kind that comes from everything being perfect around you, but the kind that comes from being clear within yourself. You no longer need everyone to understand you. You no longer need every connection to remain the same. You no longer need to explain your growth to those who are not experiencing it the way you are. You simply continue forward. And as you do, the right connections, the ones that align with where you are now and where you are going, will begin to feel natural, effortless, supportive. Because alignment does not create confusion. It creates clarity. And right now, you are being guided to recognize the difference. To trust what you feel. Trust what you are noticing. Trust the quiet signals that are becoming harder to ignore, because they are not leading you away from something important. They are leading you toward what truly belongs in your life moving forward. Type "I choose alignment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 777 is now activated. There is a difference between reacting to what is happening around you and aligning with what is happening within you. And right now, that difference matters more than ever. Because as everything begins to shift, your awareness, your environment, your connections, it would be easy to fall into reaction. To respond emotionally, quickly, instinctively, trying to regain control or make sense of everything all at once. But this moment is not asking you to react. It is asking you to align. Alignment requires stillness. It requires you to pause before responding, to observe before speaking, to understand what you are feeling without immediately acting on it. Because not every emotion needs expression, and not every situation needs immediate response. Some moments are meant for awareness, not action. And knowing the difference is what keeps you grounded while everything else is moving. You have already seen what happens when things are handled through reaction. It creates more confusion. It pulls you into conversations and dynamics that drain your energy. It keeps you tied to patterns that you are now being guided away from. Reaction is quick, but it is rarely clear. It is driven by the surface of what you feel, not the depth of what you know. Alignment, on the other hand, is different. It is steady. It is intentional. It is rooted in clarity, even when everything around you feels uncertain. Alignment allows you to move with awareness instead of urgency. It allows you to respond from a place of understanding rather than emotion. And most importantly, it keeps you connected to the direction you are being guided toward, instead of pulling you back into what you are meant to leave behind. This is your role in this moment, not to control every outcome, not to force every answer, but to stay aligned with what you are feeling internally, even when it challenges what is happening externally. There may be situations that try to pull you into reaction, conversations that invite you to explain yourself, defend yourself, or engage in something that feels unnecessary. Moments where you feel the urge to respond immediately, to fix something, to make things clear right away. But before you do, pause. Ask yourself if responding aligns with where you are going, or if it simply satisfies the need to react. Because not everything requires your energy, and not everything deserves your attention. This is where discipline begins to replace impulse, where awareness becomes stronger than habit, where you begin to choose your responses instead of being driven by them. And at first, this may feel unfamiliar. It may feel like you are holding back, like you are not addressing things the way you used to. But what you are actually doing is creating space for clarity, space for better decisions, space for alignment to remain intact. Because every time you choose alignment over reaction, you reinforce your direction. You move further away from confusion and closer to certainty. You strengthen your ability to navigate what is happening without losing your sense of balance. You become less affected by what used to pull at you and more focused on what is unfolding ahead of you. This is also why your peace becomes more important than being understood. There may be moments where others do not fully understand your silence, your distance, or your change in response. They may expect the same reactions they are used to receiving from you. But you are not operating from the same place anymore. And that is not something you need to explain repeatedly. Because alignment does not need validation. It needs consistency. And the more consistent you are in choosing it, the more natural it becomes. The less you feel pulled into unnecessary situations. The less you feel the need to respond to everything that happens around you. The more you trust your own pace, your own timing, your own sense of direction. This is how you stay grounded while everything else is shifting. This is how you move forward without being pulled backward. This is how you protect what is now beginning to align in your life. So as things continue to unfold, remember this. You are not here to react to every change. You are here to move with what is meant for you and release what is not. Stay steady. Stay aware. Stay aligned. Because the way you handle this moment will shape everything that comes next. Type I stay aligned in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 888 is now activated. And as you step deeper into alignment, understand this sacred truth. Every act of obedience creates a ripple far beyond what your eyes can see. There are souls right now standing exactly where you once stood, confused, searching, praying for a sign. And through this message, light has reached you. And now the question rises within. I am ready to help carry this light to someone else. Scripture declares that when you sow generously, you reap generously. And in this moment, your giving becomes a seed planted into lives that are waiting for breakthrough. When you support this mission through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description and QR code, You are not giving to a voice. You are fueling a divine assignment that reaches hearts in their darkest hour. This is not just generosity. This is participation in something eternal. As you release your seed, heaven releases increase, clarity, and favor back into your life. Step forward now, act with purpose, and become a vessel through which others receive their confirmation. There comes a moment in every transformation where something reaches its limit. Not gradually, not quietly, but definitively. A point where what has been tolerated can no longer continue. Where what has been repeated can no longer repeat. Where what has been carried can no longer be held. And whether you realized it or not, you have reached that moment now. This is the breaking point. Not a breaking point of collapse, but of conclusion. Because there are cycles in your life that have run their course. Patterns that have repeated long enough to teach you what you needed to learn. Situations that have stretched you to the edge of your patience, your understanding, your endurance. And for a long time, it may have felt like you were stuck in those cycles, like you were revisiting the same emotions, the same outcomes, the same questions over and over again. But what you didn't see was that each repetition was weakening the cycle itself. Each time you recognized it a little faster. Each time you responded a little differently. Each time you became a little more aware of what was happening. And that awareness has been building to this exact moment. The moment where the cycle no longer has the same hold over you. This is where it ends. Not because everything around you suddenly changes overnight, but because you do. Because the power of a cycle is not just in its presence, it is in your participation in it. And when your awareness becomes stronger than your habit, the cycle begins to lose its control. That is what is happening now. You are no longer responding the way you used to. You are no longer engaging in the same patterns without question. You are no longer allowing certain dynamics to pull you in the way they once did. And even if there are moments where the old patterns try to resurface, they do not feel the same anymore. They feel unfamiliar. They feel out of place. They feel like something you have already outgrown. That feeling is not confusion. It is confirmation. It is confirmation that you have moved beyond what once defined your experience. That you are no longer operating from the same level of awareness, the same emotional patterns, the same mindset that kept those cycles active. And once that shift happens, the cycle cannot continue in the same way, because it no longer has the same version of you to sustain it. This is why this moment is so important, because it is not just about recognizing what is ending, it is about allowing it to end without pulling it back in, without revisiting, without familiarity, without questioning whether you should give it one more chance to repeat itself. You have already seen what it brings. You have already experienced how it feels. You have already learned what it was meant to teach you. There is nothing more for it to show you. And holding on to it beyond this point does not create clarity. It creates delay. So this is where you release it. Not forcefully, not emotionally, but consciously. You acknowledge that it has reached its end, and you choose not to carry it forward with you. This applies to more than just situations. It applies to thoughts, to beliefs, to ways of seeing yourself that were shaped during those cycles. There may be parts of your mindset that were formed during times of uncertainty, times where you had to question yourself, where you had to navigate without clarity. But those parts of you are no longer needed in the same way. You are no longer in that place. And carrying those old perceptions into your current reality will only distort what is now becoming clear. So this is also a moment of internal release. A decision to no longer define yourself by what you have already moved beyond. A decision to trust the growth that has already taken place within you. A decision to step forward without needing to look back for confirmation that you are ready. Because readiness is not something you wait for. It is something you recognize. And right now, you are ready. Ready to move without repeating what has already ended. Ready to walk forward without carrying what no longer belongs to you. Ready to allow the shift that has been building within you to fully take form. This is not the beginning of something uncertain. This is the continuation of something that has already been set into motion. And what ends today will not return in the same way again. Because you are no longer the same. Type IT ends with me in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 999 is now activated. There were moments when you asked for a sign, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, almost cautiously. You didn't need something overwhelming. You didn't need something undeniable to everyone else. You just needed something that spoke to you. Something that confirmed you weren't imagining what you were feeling. Something that told you, yes, you're on the right path. And what you may not have realized is this: those signs have already been appearing. Not always in obvious ways. Not always in ways that demanded your attention immediately. But in patterns. In repetitions. In small moments that stood out just enough to make you pause. Things that felt too precise to be random, too timely to be coincidence. You noticed them, even if you didn't fully trust them at first. A thought that came to you at exactly the right moment. A conversation that answered something you hadn't spoken out loud. A shift in a situation that aligned too perfectly with what you had been asking for internally. These are not ordinary occurrences. These are confirmations. But here is where many people hesitate. They see the signs, but they question them. They wonder if they are reading too much into it. If they are connecting things that are not actually connected. If maybe it is just chance, just timing, just coincidence. And in doing that, they begin to dismiss the very confirmation they asked for. You must not do that now. Because the signs you are receiving are not meant to overwhelm you. They are meant to guide you. They are subtle by design. Because clarity does not always come through force. It often comes through recognition. Through your ability to notice what is being shown to you without needing it to be explained in detail. This is why your awareness matters. Because the signs are only as clear as your willingness to acknowledge them. Think about what you have experienced recently. The moments that made you stop and think, even briefly. The things that seemed to repeat themselves just enough to feel intentional. The situations that shifted in a way that aligned with what you had been asking for internally. Those were not random. They were responses. They were confirmations forming in real time, showing you that what you have been sensing is accurate. That the direction you are moving in is not something you created out of uncertainty. It is something you are being guided toward with precision. And now, those confirmations are becoming stronger. You may begin to notice that what once felt like small signs now carry more weight. That patterns become more consistent. That clarity begins to build instead of appearing in fragments. This is because you are moving closer to full alignment. And as alignment strengthens, confirmation becomes clearer. But there is something you must remember in this moment. Signs are not meant to replace your awareness. They are meant to support it. They are not meant to make every decision for you. They are meant to reinforce what you already feel internally. To guide you, not to control you. This is why you must stay present. Do not look for signs out of desperation. Do not search for them in a way that creates confusion. Instead, allow them to appear naturally. Notice them without forcing them. Recognize them without overanalyzing them. Because when something is truly aligned, It does not need to be forced into meaning. It carries meaning on its own. And that is what you are beginning to experience now. A sense that things are connecting. That what once felt scattered is starting to come together. That the direction you are moving in is being confirmed in ways that feel subtle but certain. This is your confirmation. Not a single moment, not one overwhelming sign, but a series of aligned experiences that collectively show you that you are exactly where you need to be right now. So trust what you are seeing. Trust what you are feeling. Trust the patterns that are forming in front of you, because they are not leading you in circles. They are leading you forward, and the more you acknowledge them, the clearer they will become. See the signs in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now activated. There are moments in time where everything begins to converge. Not slowly, not vaguely, but with a quiet precision that can only be recognized if you are paying attention. And this is one of those moments. Because the next 24 hours are not just another segment of time passing by. They are a window, a point of movement, a threshold where what has been building begins to show itself in ways you can finally recognize. You may not see it all at once. It may not arrive with something dramatic or overwhelming, but something will shift. Something will become clear. Something that felt uncertain will begin to settle into place. And when it happens, you will feel it before you fully understand it. That is how you will know. Because when alignment reaches a certain point, it does not need to announce itself loudly. It reveals itself through clarity, through ease where there was once tension, through understanding where there was once confusion. And that is what you are stepping into now. Over the next 24 hours, pay attention to what unfolds around you, not in a way that creates pressure or expectation, but in a way that allows you to notice. Because what is coming will not force itself into your awareness, you will recognize it. It may come through a conversation, something said to you that answers a question you have been carrying. Not directly, not obviously, but in a way that connects the pieces for you. It may come through a realization, a moment where something suddenly makes sense in a way it didn't before. Or it may come through a shift in energy, something that once felt heavy becoming lighter, something that once felt unclear becoming steady. This is not coincidence. This is continuation. Everything you have felt, everything you have been guided through, everything that has been aligning within you is now reaching a point where it begins to reflect outwardly. And as it does, you will see the difference between what is moving with you and what is no longer part of your path. This is also a moment where truth becomes clearer. Not in a confrontational way, not in a way that creates unnecessary conflict, but in a way that allows you to see things as they are without distortion. Situations that once felt confusing will begin to show their true nature. You will understand what is aligned and what is not without needing external validation. And this clarity will not feel overwhelming. You will feel certain. That is how you will know you are not reacting. You are recognizing. But there is something important you must hold on to during this time. Do not rush to act on everything you notice. Allow the clarity to settle. Allow the understanding to form fully before you respond. Because this moment is not just about seeing, it is about integrating what you see into how you move forward. This is why staying grounded is essential. Because when things begin to shift, there can be a natural urge to move quickly, to respond immediately, to make decisions before everything is fully clear. But the power of this moment is not in speed, it is in precision. What is being shown to you in the next 24 hours is setting the tone for what follows, and the way you receive it matters. So stay aware, stay present, stay connected to what you are feeling internally as things begin to unfold externally. Because this is not a random period of time. This is a point of activation. A moment where what has been forming moves into visibility. A moment where what you have been waiting for begins to take shape. And as it does, you will not need to question it. You will recognize it. Because it will align with everything you have been feeling, everything you have been sensing, everything you have been preparing for. This is not the beginning of something uncertain. This is the confirmation of something already in motion. And the next 24 hours will make that clear. Type "I am ready" for what's coming in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1111 is now activated. This is the moment where everything comes together. Not in fragments, not in uncertainty, but in clarity. Because what you have been sensing, what you have been feeling, what you have been quietly holding on to is no longer something distant. It is here. It is for me. It is becoming real in a way that no longer requires you to question if it will happen. This is your answer. Not just in words, not just in signs, but in movement. In alignment. In the undeniable shift that is now taking place within you and around you at the same time. You have not come this far to remain in the same place. Every moment of doubt, every delay, every unanswered question has led you here, not to keep you waiting, but to prepare you for what you are now stepping into. And what you are stepping into is not temporary. It is not uncertain. It is not something that will come and go without purpose. It is the result of everything you have endured, everything you have learned, everything you have become. You are no longer the version of yourself that was asking from a place of confusion. You are no longer the version of yourself that needed constant reassurance to move forward. You are now standing in a place where the answer is not something you are searching for. It is something you are walking into. And that changes everything. Because when you move from seeking to stepping into, your energy shifts. Your mindset shifts. Your actions become more intentional, more grounded, more aligned with what you already know instead of what you are trying to figure out. This is the rise. Not a sudden transformation that happens overnight, but a steady, undeniable elevation into clarity, into confidence, into direction. A point where you are no longer pulled in different directions by uncertainty, but guided forward by understanding. And this rise is not meant to isolate you. It is meant to position you. Position you in spaces that reflect who you have become. Position you in opportunities that align with your growth. Position you in connections that support your direction instead of distracting from it. Because what you asked for was not just change. You asked for alignment. And alignment does not bring you back to what you have already outgrown. It moves you forward into what is ready for you now. This is why things feel different. Why your perspective has changed. Why your awareness has sharpened. Why your sense of direction feels clearer, even if every detail has not fully revealed itself yet. Because you are no longer waiting for confirmation. You are living it. And as you continue forward from this moment, there will be no need to look back and question if this was real. Because everything that unfolds from here will reinforce what you already know. That your prayers were heard, that your path was guided, and that this moment was always meant to arrive. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not uncertain. You are aligned. And what comes next will not need to be forced, chased, or questioned. It will meet you. Because you have reached the point where what is meant for you is no longer being held back. It is being released. And you are ready to receive it. This is your confirmation. Type "I walk in my answer" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now activated. And as you step fully into this answered moment, hear this deeply. Every soul that awakens to truth becomes a light for another still walking in darkness. Right now, There are people searching, praying, waiting, just like you once were. And through this message, heaven reached you. Now I feel this rising within. I am ready to help this light reach someone else. The word declares that when you sow into the work of God, your harvest will overflow beyond what you can contain, and in this moment, your giving becomes a river flowing into lives that need awakening. When you release your support through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description and QR code, you are not just giving. You are answering a divine call to expand this mission. This is a prophetic act of obedience, and as you give, heaven multiplies clarity, favor, and breakthrough back into your life. Step forward now, act without hesitation, and become a vessel through which God reaches the next soul.